In our digital society, you may be familiar with the concept of a constructed persona, a facade portraying the best while concealing the worst. What fascinated me in my study of this statue was how it shaped perception of Augustus through a similar idea millennia ago. Good afternoon. My name is Amy, and today I'm talking about Augustus of Prima Porta. Augustus is regarded as the first Roman emperor and rose to power after a long civil war against Mark Antony. This statue shows how he used art to portray himself positively to the Roman people and contains a vast multitude of implications for both modern and contemporary viewers. Beyond that, it highlights the importance of art as a gateway to the past, allowing us to witness his propagandic campaign and how, across time, art is used to convey ideas through subtle manipulation. The Prima Porta was discovered on the 20th of April 1863 at the villa of Livia Drusilla, who was Augustus's third and final wife. The one pictured here is believed to be a replica of an original bronze piece, possibly commissioned by Tiberius, Livia's son from her previous marriage, or Livia herself. Each of these unassuming features holds a multitude of details about Augustus's image, which we will delve into. So, why could I not give you a date? Little details on the statue mean it is difficult to pin down when exactly the statue was made, especially considering it was a replica. We have no way of knowing what features were on the original and which were added to the replica. The date presumably falls before AD 29, as this is when Livia dies. As for these other dates, they will be expanded on throughout this presentation, so keep an eye on them. To begin analysing this statue, we're starting from the very foundations, the feet. As inconspicuous as this might seem, the bare nature of the statue's feet holds several implications for Augustus's image, both in modern and contemporary eyes. To us, this gives his image a civilian aspect. It is clear that the lack of combat footwear softens his appearance, perhaps portraying that he can be the peaceful, civilized leader of Rome that the people wanted. On the other hand, contemporary audiences would have had the opposite impression. After all, bare feet had connotations of divinity in Roman society. This shows Augustus's ascent to godhood, reminding Romans of the power and authority he held and garnering their respect. Now, you may recall that Augustus died in AD 14. Augustus never portrayed himself as a god during his lifetime, implying that the Prima Porta replica may have been made after this year. Perhaps the original was made during his lifetime and displayed covered feet, and the posthumous copy altered this. These contextual ideas emphasize the progression of art amid society, illuminating how art and history go hand in hand when discovering the past. Likewise, the contrasting image that these two interpretations present, one deifying Augustus and one bringing him closer to the common people, highlights the importance of these little details and shows how across time art can be used to subtly influence the masses. In our digital age, this is especially relevant. Another significant facet of the Prima Porta is the cloak that Augustus wears. This is actually a general's cloak, alluding to his title as imperator, meaning commander. However, the way it is draped across his body seems to resemble a civilian's toga, suggesting the shift from Augustus as a military commander to a civil, peaceful leader after the war. This duality was difficult to represent in other forms of Augustan propaganda. Literature, for example, often focused on a singular aspect of his image. Art, as an information medium, is so interesting to examine because of its subjectivity. It conveys a multifaceted message with many different interpretations depending on the viewer. This, however, is what makes propagandic art so effective. Here, Augustus portrays a particular image of himself, but in a way that makes viewers believe they are coming to this conclusion themselves. Art, across time, is subtle manipulation wearing the guise of beauty. The breastplate is the focal point of the statue, and for good reason. It is incredibly intricate, holding many important figures and implications for Augustus's image. The central scene shows the return of the Roman standards by a Parthian. This was one of Augustus's most prominent military achievements, clearly drawing attention to his might as an imperator. In actual fact, this achievement was entirely diplomatic, but Augustus spins the narrative to enhance his image of authority to the Roman people. There are also many divine figures present on this breastplate, but I'm going to draw your attention to a few. We have Caelus, the sky god, Apollo, his patron, which we will talk about later, and Tellus, goddess of the earth. These links to divinity boost Augustus's reputation. If you're a leader chosen by the gods, it's a little difficult for people to contest that. The breadth of deities, encompassing both the heavens and the earth, portrays Augustus as the ruler and peacebringer of the world, again highlighting his competence as a civil leader as well as an imperator. Now, this part of the statue is possibly the most unusual to modern viewers. The Romans, however, would know that this baby is Cupid. He's riding a dolphin, which was the patron animal of Venus. This visual link is a reminder of Augustus's descent from the legendary hero Aeneas, the founder of Rome, through his adoption by Julius Caesar, as the Julians were believed to be descended from Aeneas's line. He reinforces his image as the son of a god, as Caesar was deified after his death, and his role as the successor of Aeneas through his commitment to the development of Rome. The face of Augustus itself had massive cultural implications for Roman society. His face is young and beautiful. He has no wrinkles or facial hair, perhaps likening him to Apollo, who was Augustus's patron, you may remember, in that Augustus often tried to associate with him to enhance his reputation. The truly astonishing aspect is that this style is not Roman, but based off Greek art. Roman society, contrary to the Greeks, placed emphasis on age, as appearing old in art meant you were wise and authoritative. Augustus consciously reverses this, integrating Hellenistic styles into his iconography to depict himself as a cultural reformer of Rome and a conqueror of the Greek world. The portrayal of youth as power brings to mind the imagery of Alexander the Great, that legendary conqueror, highlighting how Augustus takes advantage of Greek accomplishment to further his own image. This change in iconography embodies how art is influenced by society and shows how even ancient art took inspiration from the past. Yet another reference to the Greeks. This statue on the left is Doryphorus, sculpted by Polykleitos. Looking at the two side by side, there are clear similarities between them. Doryphorus is famed for his contrapposto pose, where most of his weight is put on his right foot while his left is relaxed, creating lines of tension across the body. Augustus mirrors this in the Prima Porta, deliberately alluding to the Greek statue. Augustus also includes adlocutio, shown by his outstretched arm, which implied an army general commanding legions, though he could also be debating in the Senate with this action. This highlights his versatile power and authority. Overall, he links back again to Greek art styles to emphasize his cultural reform of Rome and to portray himself as both a military and civil leader to the people of Rome. This statue encapsulates just how incredible art is as a form of communication. 2,000 years later, students and scholars still examine the Prima Porta with fervour, myself included, and can understand the motives behind each aesthetic choice. It truly revealed to me that all art has a purpose according to its creator. Sometimes, this purpose is glaringly obvious. Generative AI has propagated political art, encouraging a similar annexation of external ideals. Case in point, Trump's AI depiction of himself as the Pope last May. However, the true beauty of art lies in the unseen messages, the subtle propaganda hidden in plain sight. This statue enlightened me on how to look beyond the surface and discover the reason behind the aesthetics, both in modern society and historical art. Ultimately, the Prima Porta is one of the most significant statues of ancient times to exist. It unambiguously emphasizes the importance of art, both historically and today, in conveying the subtle manipulation utilized by Augustus to portray himself positively to contemporary audiences. In modernity, this purpose has not changed. Art persists as a glimpse into humanity's facade. Thank you.